Welcome back, 8th graders. Today, we are jumping right into our explainer on how to master the art of building an absolutely unshakable argument, specifically by learning about counterarguments and rebuttals. Think about it. Have you ever tried to convince your parents to let you stay up late? Or maybe you tried to win a debate with your friends, only to get completely shut down because you didn't anticipate what they were going to say back to you? Well, today, we are going to fix that. We are going to learn how the most persuasive writers and speakers in the world construct their arguments. It is a vital skill for reading, writing, and honestly, just navigating everyday life. Let's get into it.
Here is our agenda for today. 1. Building a strong argument. 2. Counterarguments and rebuttals. 3. Examples in real life. 4. Your turn to practice. And 5. The godly learner.
All right, Section 1. Building a strong argument, the big idea.
You know, when most people think about arguing, they just picture talking way louder than the other person. But strong arguments actually welcome opposing views. We anchor our lesson today in this ancient wisdom from Proverbs chapter 18, verse 13. It says, "He who answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame to him." Basically, if you jump to conclusions and shut out what the other side is trying to say before you've genuinely listened to them, you aren't really being smart. You're kind of just being stubborn. This applies to our essays, our class debates, and really just how we treat each other. To be truly persuasive, you have to be willing to listen first.
So why does this approach matter so much in your writing? Well, whether you're in a class debate or making a big personal decision, looking at multiple perspectives completely fortifies your stance. It shows incredible maturity and respect. Because think about it, if you only ever write about why you are right, your reader will instantly think of reasons why you're wrong, and they'll just dismiss your essay as one-sided and weak. But if you bring up the opposing points yourself, you prove to your reader that you have thought this through completely. You're showing them respect by essentially saying, hey, I hear your concerns, but let me show you why my point still stands. It builds massive trust with your audience.
Moving on to Section 2, Counterarguments and Rebuttals, your argumentation tools.
Let's open up our academic toolbox. Here is what you'll learn in this section. By the end of it, you'll know exactly how to spot the other side's points when you're reading an informational text, how rebuttals answer opposing views, and how addressing these other perspectives ultimately strengthens your own argument.
First up is the counterargument. Think of a counterargument as stepping right into your opponent's shoes so you can honestly state exactly why they disagree with you. For example, if your claim is that cats make the absolute best pets, the counterargument is the dog lover entering your essay to say, but wait, dogs are more loyal and protect the house. You are literally arguing against yourself for a brief moment. You are stating the counter or opposing argument.
But hey, you do not just leave that opposing point hanging there in the air. That is exactly where the rebuttal comes in. The rebuttal is your powerful comeback, where you calmly and logically explain why that opposing point just doesn't hold up, or maybe why it's less convincing than your main claim. Going back to our pet example, your rebuttal might be something like, while dogs can protect a house, cats are much more independent and require far less daily maintenance, making them ideal for busy families. See what you did there? You acknowledged their point, and then you kindly defeated it.
So, the absolute crucial point here is that you must have a balanced approach. The key word, respect. You must gracefully acknowledge the counterargument first before delivering your clear rebuttal. If you're mocking the other side, well, you aren't writing a good argument, you're just being rude. A really strong writer says things like, some people may argue, or it is understandable to think, and then they hit them with their rebuttal using words like, however, or nevertheless.
Let's jump into Section 3, Examples in Real Life, Seeing the Tools in Action.
Okay, let's look at the classic school start time debate. Say your claim is that middle school should start at 9 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. so students can get a little more sleep. A completely valid counter-argument is that later start times will make after-school activities much harder to schedule. Now, if you ignore that concern, parents and coaches will reject your whole essay. But your rebuttal can directly solve this. You just point out that schools in other districts adjusted sports schedules without problems. Boom, you acknowledge their fear, and you provided a clear, logical solution.
Now let's consider something you use every single day, technology. Imagine you're writing a paper arguing that iPads should replace traditional textbooks. A natural counterargument from a teacher or parent is that too much screen time is harmful to students' eyes. A brilliant rebuttal acknowledges this real risk, but instead of just denying it, provides a practical solution. You could say, with proper breaks and settings, screen time can be managed safely.
It keeps your main argument super strong without pretending the other side doesn't have a very valid point. All right, Section 4, your turn to practice, applying what you've learned.
You've got the knowledge you need, so let's walk through your homework questions for Unit 4 to make sure you can apply these skills entirely on your own. For these first two questions, I want you to look back at the definitions we just learned, but please do not just copy them word for word. I want you to rewrite them using your very own 8th grade vocabulary. How would you explain what a counterargument is to a 5th grader? How would you explain a rebuttal to a friend who is desperately trying to win an argument with their sibling? Put it in your own words so I know it's locked in your brain.
Now for the really fun part. The claim is one I am sure many of you agree with. Homework should be optional. For question 3, I want you to think deeply and honestly. Imagine what a teacher, or maybe a principal, might say against this claim. What is their very best argument for why homework should not be optional? Write that down. Then, for question 4, put your debate hat on. How would you respectfully and logically answer that teacher back? Provide a rebuttal that proves why your original claim about optional homework is still the much better idea.
And for your final question, I want you to step back and look at the big picture. Explain why it is so important to address counterarguments in an argumentative text. Think back to our discussion on respect, listening, and avoiding those weak, one-sided arguments. Why does taking the extra time to address counterarguments make your writing so much more powerful? Tell me why this entire skill matters so much out there in the real world.
Section 5. The Godly Learner, Connecting Intelligence with Wisdom. To wrap up today's explainer, let's just take a second to reflect on why we even learn these academic skills in the first place. At HeroesMart Academy, we intertwine biblical morality with your education because, frankly, education without morality can hurt. Knowledge and intelligence should help you make wise, God-honoring choices rather than simply making you a more capable person. If we teach you how to be brilliant debaters who can absolutely destroy anyone else's argument with pure logic, but we do not teach you respect, well, we've kind of just created a very capable bully. Learning how to argue brilliantly isn't just about winning a debate, it's about seeking the truth.
And this beautifully illustrates the exact point the Apostle Paul makes in Romans chapter 8, verses 6 through 7. He says, keeping the mind spiritually minded leads to life and peace. Listening to others, truly considering their viewpoints, and respectfully answering them with the truth, that brings peace. It bridges divides, rather than starting unnecessary conflicts. When you use counterarguments and rebuttals with a spiritually minded approach, you are seeking truth and genuine understanding, not just looking for a trophy for winning an argument.
So I want to challenge you today. Pursue academic excellence. Learn how to write incredible essays, understand these argumentation tools, and sharpen your mind. But do it while keeping your mind centered on God, truth, wisdom, and righteous choices. As you go off to complete your homework today, I want to leave you with this final thought. How will you use your new ability to truly listen to different perspectives to promote truth and create peace in your own daily life? Good luck on your assignments, 8th graders, and I will see you in the next lesson.